Hello ladies, gentlemen, and otherwise David on deck with a not-so-quick weapon review. Today we're going to be hitting one of the most controversial weapons of the gaming community, and that weapon will be the Smart Pistol Mark V of Titanfall. It is a primary weapon for the pilot, aka your standard infantry class, and it's one of the first unlocks you get. Now, I'm going to start this by saying a lot of people call this a noob weapon, but I'm not going to get into whether it's overpowered or not until pretty much the very end of the video. In the footage, you're going to see me play more slow-paced and borderline lazy with the suppressor in the first game, and in the second game I'm going to be very aggressive with the enhanced targeting attachment and just go borderline ham. I don't have any extended mag footage, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Honestly, it's more of a preference thing, and again, I'll get there when I get there. The format is going to be as follows. I tell you all the stats that I can interpret and tell you what they mean for you as a player, then get to my feel of the weapon in general. This means you'll have to take into account that when I say I don't like a weapon, it may just mean that I'm partial to something different and that you may fall in love with it. Everything past the cold hard stats are my opinion and my opinion alone. I'm offering it to you guys so you'll have a point of reference when attempting to build or equip your class for the first time, aka figure out my style, kind of learn what I like and why, and that will give you a solid reference point for when you start on your own weapon. So if, say, myself and yourself are completely opposite, then what I love you will very likely hate. Basically, just keep in mind that our playstyles are different, and what I enjoy will not be what you enjoy in perfection. So here we go. The stats are as follows. I'll let you know when I get to the end of them. You have 480 rounds per minute. This isn't necessarily wicked fast, but it is not necessarily ridiculously slow. It's enough to dance in close quarters if you're quick on the trigger finger and don't oversample the weapon or jam it per se. It does 67 damage across the board, no matter what, whether you put a suppressor on it or if it's at point blank to massive long range. You will do 67 damage to the target. That means it is a 3-shot kill in pretty much every scenario for both Spectres and pilots. It does 40 to 10 Titan damage without a rodeo. That means if you're just standing on the ground shooting up at a Titan, you're only going to do 40 to 10 damage depending on your range. I don't recommend, of course, that you shoot a Titan with a smart pistol standing on the ground. That's a bad idea. Rodeo damage, however, is 200. That's not horrible. It's about the same as one of the highest DPS one of the highest DPS versus a rodeoed Titan weapon in the game, and that will be the Spitfire LMG. Both do 200, however the Spitfire fires a bit faster and of course has a massive magazine in comparison. Brings us to the reload and what you're reloading. It has a 1.45 to 1.49 second reload time, exceedingly fast and borderline negligible. Basically, if you run out of ammo, so long as you do a little dance, you're probably going to have enough time to get ammo back into the weapon before it matters enough to either get you killed or get you a kill. It has 12 rounds per magazine with 9 spares. That means you have 120 rounds total. It is not one mag with 10 spares, as I thought previously. Extended mags gives you 18 per mag and 180 total. Again, I will address extended mags when I get to the loadout ideas. Now for the lock-on numbers, you're going to need 1 lock-on for a grunt, 2 locks for a Spectre, and 3 locks for a pilot. I assume this is because Spectres not nearly as, shall we say, jerky as pilots, and the Smart Pistol can only lock on to the general center of mass of a pilot, whereas with the Spectre it can get 1 critical hit. As for the dead, just dumbfire numbers, you can drop a grunt in 1 shot if you shoot him in the head. You can kill a Spectre in 2 shots if you hit him in the head. Otherwise, however, it is going to take 2 and 3 respectively. Keep in mind, Spectres have exactly the same amount of health as pilots, And with a pilot, you will need, of course, 2 shots to the head or 3 to the body to make a kill. Now we get to the rough guesses. The lock-on time feels like 2 or 0.2-ish seconds, maybe 0.3-ish for pilots, all stock without any attachment. Lock-on distance is roughly 20 meters with 24 with the extended mags, pardon me. Cloak pilots take what honestly feels like twice the time to lock, and this might not be very realistic, but it's very difficult to hold a lock on a cloaked pilot, especially with them running around. You can do it, but it takes a while. Suppressor feels like it doubles the lock-on time as well, which means if you are suppressed and trying to kill a cloaked pilot is going to take you a long time to lock on. It feels like in that situation it's almost a full second before you can get the solid lock-on. This likely isn't realistic in the actual numbers, but this is what it feels like. Enhanced targeting feels like it has the lock-on time. Again, this is very likely unrealistic, and it's just what I feel in combat, but it is a lot easier to get locks on pilots with the enhanced targeting. And this is the main increase that you're going to be looking for when equipping the enhanced targeting. So yes, lots of speed to the lock, and that's honestly why I use it. Enhanced targeting also drops about a fifth to a third of your screen for faster locks. What I mean by this, and I kind of wrote that funny in the script, basically you lose a little bit of your lock-on bracket when you equip enhanced targeting. That means you don't have as much of your screen taken up by the lock-on area as you do with regular non-enhanced targeting systems. The suppressor keeps the lock-on brackets but requires more time and keeps you off the map. Personally, I love the suppressor and the enhanced targeting, but I've never really had a reason to run the extended mags. And that's pretty much it for the bare bones stats of the weapon. In a moment, I'm going to just go to it and talk about what I feel the weapon's useful for, etc., etc. Now for the loadout. Suppressor for grunt hunting is very good for taking out excessive amounts of grunts and specters while keeping you off of the mini-map. Run very quickly. Do not go for pilots unless you are very comfortable with killing them. Enhanced targeting, in my opinion, is for pilot hunting. You can do a good amount with the enhanced targeting with that fast reload time and high damage, as well as the enhanced targeting lock-on time. You can do a solid amount of work. One thing you need to be aware of, though, lock-ons for grunts are borderline negligible. It takes very little time to lock on, and you can do multiple locks at once. However, with pilots, you do have to lock on once per, like one at a time, one lock at a time. Even if there are multiple pilots on the screen, you can only make one lock at a time on any given pilot. You cannot choose who locks on. I don't know if the relevance to the center of the screen is actually relevant, but keep in mind, if you run into a room with 3 targets, it's probably going to take you a few seconds to lock onto all of them if you survive that long. Lastly, if you don't want to deal with the negatives of either, as in you don't want to deal with the extended lock-on time, or... Okay, there's a thing. Sorry, there's a live stream going on. Anyway, get back on track here. If you don't want to deal with the negatives of either the long lock-on time of the suppressor or the shortened lock-on spread of the enhanced targeting, then you can go for extended mags and have a lot of extra ammo. This is good for very fast-paced grunt hunting when you're pretty much just not stopping, running about, playing very aggressively, and very, shall I say, squirrel-like, jumping off of buildings and whatnot. If you're moving too fast for the enemy to really catch you, then this would be my recommendation. For the tactical ability, Cloak plus Battery. This is probably my most used loadout for the Smart Pistol, barring everything else. If you use this, I recommend you cloak a lot for hit and run, as in cloak to get in position, then start shooting, do your deed, and run away, then As soon as you have the ability, cloak, find a place to hide, let them pass you up, and either engage or deal away. This works, of course, with both the suppressor and the enhanced targeting. I'd like to stress that I use this more with enhanced targeting than I do with the suppressor. With the suppressor, I can kind of just bunny out of a situation if I have to, but with the enhanced targeting, they always know where I am so long as I'm shooting, and that kind of gets annoying after a while, so I like to just vanish on occasion. I recommend to never engage unless you have a clear flanking advantage or have no other choice. That means if someone is shooting at you and you're kind of cornered, then yeah, start shooting back. But otherwise, if they don't see you, if they don't know you're there, and they just kind of scared you popping around a corner, but again, they don't turn to engage, then I recommend you don't shoot them until you have a full lock or until you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can kill them. This class, or this weapon, feels like it's meant to be played very cautiously, very stealthily. Next possible loadout is stim plus battery. Again, I use this for very high speed, high mobility playstyle. I don't normally run it because occasionally I just tend to choke a parkour run, and when that happens I feel embarrassed and horrible in general because it just ruins something amazing. But the point is, the stim playstyle is very, very fun, but I tend to run the cloak setup much easier. So long as you're being more cautious, it seems the cloak would be better. If you're very, very aggressive and you need the constant regen to your health and speed increase, then yeah, cloak plus battery, totally fine. Remember, by the way, these are my recommendations. You are in no way obligated to take this as fact that these are the best. This is just what I personally find to work very well. And remember what I said earlier, what I enjoy the most is what you guys probably may or may not enjoy. It just depends on the difference of playstyles. I tend to be very aggressive, but sometimes I can be very campy. So if you are a naturally campy player, not all of my recommendations are going to jive well with you. So just a little bit of caveat there. Now for the only kit that I'm going to recommend is the minion detector for the suppressor build. Easier to find those pesky little bugs that are just hanging out and not necessarily doing all that much, because the grunts aren't always firing. They will fire if you see them and they see you, but keep in mind the grunts can occasionally be hard to find. Just taking my time here, doing well. Okay. So at about this point, it should have transitioned over to the aggressive playstyle. Hopefully this is more entertaining than the first one. I'm not sure exactly what I do in which. I know there's a really weird lag moment with come on brain, with the satchel charges, but anyway, this one should be significantly less laggy. For some reason the netcode has just gotten better over time. Anywho, sidearm, I'd say go for comfort. Keep in mind this is a pistol that you're using as your primary, so if you want to, say, have extra range, then by all means the wingman is a good choice. If you want to have a combination, the Hammond P2011 is a decent choice. I personally go for the RE45 auto pistol because when I pull my sidearm, it's because of a panic situation. It's because there's someone very close to me, not necessarily kicking distance, but pretty close, that really needs to die very quickly. And the auto pistol is just my go-to weapon for those situations. So that's pretty much everything I have to say about loadout. And I'm going to say something else. In all honesty, you could run pretty much any tactical ability you want with this, and it'll be fine. If you want to use the Echo Vision to hunt things down, or you just want to use the stim or cloak for however you want. The weapon works well with a lot of different stuff, so long as you're not going in loud and running in front of everyone's weapons. It's not so great for that. Okay, now on to the last thoughts. It's not overpowered. By the time you're fully locked on, anyone looking at you could kill you 2 to 4 times over. It's more of a minion farming tool than a true player hunter, although the enhanced targeting does work to assist with that role. It has its place, and it's a unique one, but it's certainly not overpowered. Used correctly, this weapon can reap swaths of death across any battlefield, but used incorrectly, it's just a big fancy pistol that hits kind of hard. Flank and win, or charge and die. Don't aim for pilots unless you're comfortable you can kill them without being seen or before they can react. Be careful. Now that's pretty much all I have for the script, and a couple of other things that I've thought up. It just use common sense when you're doing this, guys. It's not that difficult to figure out whether or not you can kill someone, and again, you kind of have to sit there for a little while waiting for the lock-on to happen. It can happen mid-air, and that's normally my method of doing it, but it's just, it has its own skill, it has its own way of playing. It's a unique weapon, and frankly, I think it's something that we desperately need in the shooter industry. I think I've ranted enough. Ladies, gentlemen, and otherwise, thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for viewing, and I so very much hoped you enjoyed this weapon review. If not, or if you have feedback, please feel free to leave a comment. If you feel so inclined, please don't be shy to drop a like, and if you'd like to see more, subscribing is both free and appreciated. It gives me that lovely, warm, fuzzy feeling in my chest that I essentially do this for. Thank you again for checking out my video, and hopefully I'll see you out on the frontier. If not, however, I will definitely see y'all next round.
Barely ahead of the IMC, man. The battle projections say it's gonna be real close.
Be advised, Titan ready in 30 seconds. Titan ready in 15 seconds. It's on the way. Stand by for Titanfall.
Control transferring to pilot. Warning, excessive damage sustained. Warning, severe reactor damage sustained.
Pilot, your Titan will be ready in 2 minutes.